Well, ever since the Mueller report dropped and Bob Mueller testified before Congress, the talk in D.C., it has shifted to impeachment. More and more House Democrats support it. In fact, I spoke with one of those congressmen just yesterday. But Democratic leaders, they're still deciding whether or not to start the proceedings. Congress also has nearly a dozen active investigations regarding the president, including everything from possible obstruction of justice, hush money payments to women he allegedly had affairs with, abuse of power, and on and on and on. But that's not all, not by a long shot. Robert Mueller referred more than a dozen cases to districts, and we don't even know which ones and where most of these cases will actually be heard. Also, attorneys generals in several states, they're investigating Trump's inaugural committee. It spent more than $100 million, but we don't know where any of that money went, or at least most of it. Also, there's probing whether or not foreign money flooded in, which is a major no-no. On top of that, Trump Organization, they're being investigated for allegedly misuse of charitable funds, possible campaign violations, inflating assets, and more. All right, let me bring the guys back in. The feeling that's out there, and I'll start with you, Mayo, on this, is possibly the biggest exposure for the president isn't even through the political realm with impeachment right now. It's two things. If he loses in 2020, statute of limitations won't run out. And the Southern District and other district courts here, they basically can go where they want, assuming DOJ doesn't put the thumb on the scale. So I know for you, you believe that obstruction of justice wasn't just part of the Mueller report. That's where his real exposure lies.
Absolutely. In fact, the Mueller report's almost a blueprint about how to get to obstruction of justice. And obstruction of justice is going to be something that the American people can wrap their minds around pretty easily, because all you have to do is go to the clips of President Trump making certain statements. So when you have him repeatedly saying how displeased he is with Jeff Sessions and trying to implore his colleagues to get rid of Sessions.
And we've put up the 10 biggies in the Mueller report.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all of that is significant. I also go back to the fact that I think that there's a misunderstanding about whether he can be indicted as a sitting president. That's a policy. It's an internal policy. It's not a law.
I just think the clock will run out before that's decided. And Doug, you said you keep your eye not so much on whether it be a district court or whether it be some of the active investigations, but on one guy in particular, Roger Stone. Why?
Well, Roger Stone is a friend and a political ally of Trump, so he knows him very well. And he's indicated that he's not going to take a plea and he's not going to flip on Trump, which means that he's probably going to have to go to a trial. What he's charged with, witness tampering and also lying to Congress, those are uniquely federal crimes. There's no state analogous crime there. So Trump could pardon him. But the reality is you're going to have a trial that's going to rehash a lot of the information that we've heard before. The allegation is that he was doing sort of nefarious conduct with WikiLeaks, and the idea is, whether it's true or not, that WikiLeaks was in contact with the Russians. So all that information is going to be brought out. And anybody that tries cases knows that you know what a case is supposed to be about before trial. But once a trial starts, anything can happen. And I think that that case has the potential of getting a lot bigger than it looks at right now.
For me, a lot of this comes down to geography, believe it or not. And I know you guys know this, but I'm not sure our audience does, which is the Trump Organization headquarters were in New York. The Trump Foundation headquarters were in New York. Everything, for example, with tentacles like even the Trump University, et cetera, all those things had connectivity to New York where it was based. So that you have an active attorney general who's looking to make a name for herself in New York, Tish James. But on top of that, you have the Southern District with obviously all the connections as it relates to the financial entities that were attached to this as well in their purview. They're eagerly looking, I think, at the election in 2020 to say, where do we go from here? Now, they don't have to wait till then, but if the election goes south for the president, he's a regular guy. And all the protections and all the benefits and all the pardons and all the rest, those go out the window if he loses. If he wins, he can run out the clock on a lot of these things. So if you think the election has huge stakes for us as a nation, personally for the president, it is seismic as to where this thing could go one way or the other if he wins or he loses. So it is fascinating. Now, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take another look at the debates and also discuss whether or not Democrats are focusing too much on each other instead of banding together to go after the aforementioned Donald Trump.